This is a hybrid-renko system here, and so we have conditions 1 through 5, and I'm kind of guessing here that condition 4 is probably this ADX VMA filter here. It's probably condition number 4 here. So simply, this is basically another type of pullback type of system here. So the kind of the key to this trading idea is waiting for price to pull back, and so we can see these long wicks here on these Renko bars to pull back to whatever the low of the 4th bar back here. Right. So right here is kind of the key rule. Enter at the low price of 4 bars back here. Right. So, yeah, that's basically the key triggering condition that will trigger a trade signal here. And so there are some prerequisites. So we can see that basically we're waiting for a reversal bar. So after a reversal bar, we need to count basically 5 more additional bars before the first setup is allowed to occur, right? And let's see. Yes, we have that prerequisite. And yeah, as mentioned earlier, we do have the ADX filter here. So we want to make sure that the ADX is not in a flat state. So here, yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but we can see when the ADX turns yellow, right? Basically, it's in a flat state here. So want to make sure that there's no flat state. I guess during the first or during once we get to the 6th bar here, we want to make sure that ADX is still not in a flat state. All right. Basically, yeah, that does it. So first thing you want to do is you want to find an area on your chart that meets those conditions. Yeah, I think that meets, I think this little pullback here, let's see. Yeah, this pullback here, this wick equals the high of that bar, but it didn't break it. Yeah, it didn't break it here. So, yeah, just double checking here. So we need a minimum of 6 bars, yeah. And also this actually did not meet the minimum count of 6 bars. So it was actually 1 bar early. We needed to get one bar further. So let's see if we can find another spot on the chart. Here we go. I think we have a winner. Yep, here we go. All right, so we'll just kind of circle this, highlight this area, and that'll be our area to work in. Here we go. Here's another one. Okay, at least we found a couple. All right, so so I have the ADX on the chart already as well, a 5 period, just to kind of create an extreme situation where, we might have these long, flat periods here, just to create more of these flat periods so that we can definitely incorporate them in our testing, right, to make sure that the ADX being flat, part of the system is working correctly, or that, that we have it set up correctly in BloodHound. So yeah, we can actually see here, right, ADX is flat here a couple of times, and yeah, so here's our 6th bar there, and the ADX is still flat here on the 6th bar. Put a little dot there, we can see it's still yellow going to this bar. And then on our 7th bar, that's when it turns blue there. So yeah, so we do have an example here of that ADX being flat. I think we're ready to start building. So let's get BloodHound open. So we can see I already have BloodHound on my chart. And so I'm going to use the button at the top of the chart here to open BloodHound up. All right, and let's start working on the logic tab here. And let's start a new logic template. And let's see, what should we call this? All right, something like that, right? Renko wick pullback to 4th bar, and then maybe just for good measure with an ADX VMA filter. All right, so the first thing we need to do is identify these reversal bars so that we can then start counting bars, so that we create this 6-bar limitation here. So let's see here. So basically these first 7 bars, so it's 6 bars after the reversal bar, so it's really a total of 7 bars here. So we need to exclude those first 7 bars. So first thing we're going to do is identify the reversal bars. And to do that, we can use a inflection solver here. And simply put, an inflection is a change in direction. So when it comes to charting, there's only 2 changes in direction, So when it comes to charting, you can't change from left to right or right to left, Charts are linear. They always just move forward. You can never go backwards. You can look backwards, but an indicator can't move backwards, So indicators basically only change directions from going up to down or from down to up. So basically, we're going to look for a inflection in the closing price of the bars, So when the closing price reverses down, we know that we have a reversal down bar, and if the closing price reverses up, we know we have a reversal up bar on our Renkos. So we're just going to do a price inflection, and we're going to change the input to price, and there we go, There we go. Each of our reversal bars are now identified. So we'll take that. And then also what we need is we need to start counting these bars afterwards. And to do that, we're going to use a bar direction solver here. Let's plug that in. All right. And with the bar direction solver, we can see that there's a setting called number of bars. So we can make sure that there is a minimum of 6 bars in the same direction, So this is making sure there's 6 bars in the same direction. And if we look at this, we can see when it gets to the 6th bar, we start getting a long output, Because these are all up bars, So up bars are going to have long output, down bars are going to have a short output. But if you notice, if you remember where our little dots are, that is the first bar where a signal is allowed. However, this system here is a little unique, so we have to think a little differently for this. So normally, you would want to increase your number of bars to 7 so that our first long output is actually on our 6th bar here, but it's really our 7th up bar. So even though, if we go back to, the instructions here, the counting starts from the first bar after the reversal, but this reversal bar is an up bar. So, for the sake of the logic, the reversal bar has to be included in the counting because it is an up bar, So, so we actually are counting 7 bars. However, this idea requires operating in real time, Because the signal is supposed to occur when price pulls back, and breaks the open or the low of that 4th bar back. And so we want that signal to occur in real time, In other words, we want that signal right then and there. All right, so we don't want to wait for price to move back up and the bar to close and then get the signal, Because price is already way up here. We want the signal to occur down here. So this has to happen in real time. So we need to make another adjustment to BloodHound in order to get this to work in real time. So what I'm going to do, actually, let's close this out here. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is go into my indicators window. And BloodHound needs an adjustment here. So let's click on BloodHound and the calculate mode. So this NinjaTrader setting here called calculate, we need to adjust this to on price change, right? So this calculate setting allows all indicators to work in real time or wait for the bar to close before a calculation is done, right? And so we want BloodHound to operate in real time, so we're going to use on price change. So, and it's probably a good idea to also have our ADX VMA also, just for the sake of our visual ability to visually see things in real time, we want our ADX VMA also to be in real time. Our setup is down here at the bottom, and so we're going to set the calculate to on price change is real for the ADX VMA. There we go. And so what that did is now we can see the ADX VMA is actually plotting on the bar that's building, right? It's in real time, so we can actually see the ADX VMA, changing colors in real time as well. So kind of back to our bar counting here. Now, right? So normally, normally you're running BloodHound on bar close, so you're waiting for this bar to close. And so with our bar counting, let's pull this up here, right? So our bar direction, so our bar counting of 7 is normally what you want when your system runs on the bar close. However, since this is working in real time, right, when price pulls back, this is not going to be an up bar, right? This is actually going to be a down bar. So we won't get a long signal here when price is doing its pullback, right? It's going to be a down bar. So we actually need to set our number of bars one bar less. So that way this bar, right? So this bar will be closed, and so we'll have our long signal here telling us that, from this bar that's closed, and at the same time, this bar will be a down bar as price is pulling back, right? So we need the long output from this closed bar, and what we're going to do is with the bar direction, with the bar direction solver, we can actually use the start bar as a go and set it to 1. And what that does is you can see, right, our output was shifted forward 1 bar. Now normally, in order to shift a solver's output over 1 bar, normally you would use the look back node to do that. But this bar direction actually has a start, the ability to start counting our 6 bars in a row, to start counting with an offset. So that's really what the start bar is a go. It generates an offset of when to start counting here. So now we have a long output here that's actually coming from this bar, but it's going to be a long output. So even when this bar is building and the market makes a pullback down here, pulls back to generate that signal, we'll have a long output here, telling us that we have our minimum, number of bars here being counted here. All right, and let's also update the name here, right? So this is a 6 bars direction solver. All right, there. And the next thing we can do is we can grab a AND node and connect both of these together like so. And let's see here. Actually, you know what? Yeah. I don't think this price inflection actually really is necessary. I built it just in case, but yeah, I don't think it's really going to be necessary because, as we can see, this bar direction solver is really making sure that there's a minimum number of bars, and it does include this reversal bar all unto itself. So really this is probably unnecessary here. And we can see that, yeah, if we connect it in, you know, we're not getting any kind of output there. So normally what I would have to do is, yeah, I would have to set the look back period. Yeah, so if I set that look back period to 6, I think, well, maybe one more, to 7, like so. You know, there, so we're getting a signal, but it's only on that one bar. Yeah, so really that price inflection is going to interfere with this system here, because one of the rules here, let's see, let's pull this up here. Yeah, so condition number 5, right, the last rule here says entries are, re-entries are allowed, right? So basically, anytime we have this long continuous uptrend, you know, as long as there's a long pullback, a deep enough pullback, you know, that's okay to generate additional entry signals. So, you know, so we don't want this price inflection to actually limit us, or to limit those, right? So here we go. So as long as we continue to have, you know, a trend in the same direction, you know, entries are going to be allowed here. So let's just kind of get rid of this price inflection altogether. So I'm going to remove it from the logic board and go back to my solvers tab, and also remember to remove it from here too, right? So you guys should keep your systems cleaned up, right? Don't keep a bunch of unused solvers in this list here, because they're just wasting processing time, right? So we should delete solvers that are never going to be used again. So I'm not going to use that price inflection for this system here. Okay, so here we are with our bar counting. And so now what we need is we need this, you know, yeah, we need this triggering condition here where when price pulls back past the low price of 4 bars back, you know, as soon as price pulls back here, that our signal actually gets triggered there, right? So to do that, we're going to use a comparison solver. And so what are we comparing? Well, we're comparing price, which is the closing price. All right, so when the closing price, when this happens in real time, so as the market pulls back, as the closing price of this bar pulls back below the open of 4 bars back, or I'm sorry, the low of 4 bars back, right? That's the comparison that we're doing. We're comparing the closing price, you know, of this bar, the current bar, to the low price 4 bars back. So let's give this some kind of a name here. So we're going to compare the close of the current bar. And so this number 0 in a bracket is basically a programming term. And the 0 means the current bar. And we're going to compare that to the low of, let's see here, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 bars back. And so, yeah, to the low price, and the 4 is referring to 4 bars back. So that is the comparison that we're doing. And so our inputs here, so input A, that is going to be price, and input B is also going to be price, right? So we're comparing prices of different bars here. So input A, well, that's going to be the closing price. That's already set to the closing price. And so input B, well, that needs to be the low of the bar. So if we're in an uptrend, we're going to be using the low of the bar, right? To generate a long signal during an uptrend, we're looking at the low of the bar. Now, if the Renko bars are in a downtrend, well, we're comparing the close of that bar to the high of the bar, right? So for a short signal, we would be using the high of the bar. So hopefully that makes sense there. And now, the next thing we need to do is, oh, let's connect that up there. Sorry, we should connect that up. So the next thing we need to do, let's see. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking how I want to tackle this. Yeah, I'm actually going to make a little adjustment here. So if we compare the closing price, right, to the low or the high of the bar, we're only going to see a signal when it happens in real time, right? Because the close of the bar is going to be up here when that bar closes, right? But the signal is triggered when the closing price, right, actually comes down here below it. So we won't actually see a signal in real time, right? And let me finish setting this up so you can actually visually see here. So for a long signal here, this is the output that we want here. So remember A is the close of the bar, needs to be less than B. And remember B is the low of the bar, right? So price needs to come down here, right? So the closing price, the market needs to pull back, pull back, pull back, and go below or less than, right, the low of this bar. So this is the output that we want. A, which is the closing price, less than B, like that. And so if we reverse the long outputs, then almost all the time you also need to reverse the short outputs, like so. And we can see that there's actually no signal here, right? So this would work in real time. Let's see here, where, yeah, I'm just kind of well, yeah, shoot, price just made a reversal bar there. So, yeah, there's no chance of us actually seeing this operating in real time. But, yeah, you just have to use your imagination. Right, definitely building trading ideas does require lots of imagination. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we'll just have to imagine what this would look like in real time, right? But we can see, though, that, right, once the bar actually closes, there's no signal. So instead of using the closing price, I'm actually going to use the low and or the high prices here. And let's see. Oh, and the last thing I forgot to do here is for input B, we want this to be 4 bars back. So I'm going to take 4 and add it to our look back period of 1. So that'll give me a look back period of 5. There we go. And let's see here. Oh, I set this to the last price. Sorry. Let's set this to the low price. There we go. So now we can see that on this bar here, there is a long output, right? We have this long output right there. And that's what we're looking for, all right? So using the low price allows us to actually see the signals historically. So if we used the closing price, we would only see the signals in real time. All right, right. So this kind of, yeah, using the low price gives us kind of the best of both worlds. So, right, so this will work in real time, right? Because as the market pulls back, right, reverses down and makes this pullback, right? It's also making a new low for, for this particular bar, right? So in real time, the low price is moving lower at the same time that the closing price of the bar is moving lower, right? So so as the market moves downward, right, the closing price and the low price are equaling each other the first time that this happens here. Yeah, so we'll use the low and the high for our current bar. That way we can see our signals in real time. So now if I connect that in, there we go. Now I'm expecting to see some signals here. And all right, so the last step is the ADX VMA. Yeah, you'll notice that we will get signals on these reversal bars, but we'll get back to that in a moment here. So historically, yeah, we're going to see signals on the reversal bars. But that's actually correct because remember, you're looking at this historically. You're not looking at this as if it was running in real time. But we'll get back to this in a minute. Let's add in our ADX VMA first. So to do that, we're going to use a threshold solver to read whether the ADX VMA is flat or whether it's trending up or trending down. Right? So a threshold solver, let's connect this in. And I'm using a 5 period. So all right, so we want to identify when the ADX VMA 5 period is trending. So our input here is going to be the ADX VMA. And so as mentioned earlier, this is a lizard indicator. So you can get this ADX VMA, you can get this from, I think there's multiple versions of it on Futures.io. But of course, you can get it from Lizard Indicator's website as well. So so let's select that. And the period, as mentioned, I adjusted it to a 5 period to based on Randall's suggestions here with his rules. And what we're looking for is you'll notice that there's a plot called the ADX VMA, right? And that's the plot we see on the chart. But there's also this hidden data here that's called a data series. So this data series can't be seen on a chart, but it's kind of like a plot. Think of it like a plot, but you can't actually visually see it. So data series is a way for an indicator to communicate with other indicators or a strategy. So if you're building a system, this is basically outputting data that you can use when you're building a system here. And so we want to use this trend output here. And this tells us, when the ADX is trending or if it's not trending. So basically it matches up with, so this trend will have an output when the indicator is blue or if the indicator is red, right? So as we know, when the ADX VMA is trending, it's red or blue, and so this trend will have an output. And so when it's yellow like this or orange, there's going to be no output. So that trend will be 0, I think, something like that. So so let's click OK. And next, let's see here. Let's set our outputs like so. There we go. So for a long output, we want that trend output to be greater than 0, right? So again, let's open this up here. So when you're using third-party indicators like this, and they have something like a data series, you do need to contact the vendor to find out, what values are coming out of, their data series like this, right? So you do need to understand how your custom third-party indicators are working. So, and I've used this ADX VMA enough that I know that this trend output, it outputs a positive one when the line turns blue. And it will output a negative 1 value when the line is red. And when the line is this golden color, it outputs a 0 value, right? So I've just used this long enough to where I've figured out what the values are that are coming out of this trend data series here. But, you know, for you guys at home, you should contact your vendor for some, you know, documentation on what values you know, are being output, you know, of their data series from their indicators. Yeah. So, right. So for a long output, we know that trend is going to be a positive one, which is going to be greater than 0. And for a short output, right, our short output here, a negative one is going to be less than 0. So E is set to 0. So a negative one is less than 0. So that's why our long output is greater than A and our short output is less than E, right? And so we can simply see on the chart, bingo, right? Whenever whenever the line changes colors, you know, we're getting the appropriate, you know, long or short output. So we can connect that in like so and make that a part of the system. There. And connect that up like that. Let's see. Yeah, that does it. All right, so let's get back to these reversal bars, right? So why is there a signal on a lot of these reversal bars here? Well, let's go back to, you know, our little working example here. You know, let's see here. Let me take a little measurement here, right? So I have a little measurement of the total length of a reversal bar, and if I bring that measurement over and I overlay that on our signal bar, right? Let's get rid of our, all right, come on, can't grab that dot, there we go. Okay, so if I overlay this, look at that, we can see that this bar's pullback was so long that it almost became a reversal bar, right? So that's how far back price has to pull. It has to pull all the way back to the point where if price had moved one more tick, it would have created a reversal bar, right? So yeah, so that's why these reversal bars are marked as signals, because price was pulling back to the point, right? It was pulling back above the high of our fourth bar back, right? It pulled back that extra tick that was needed, and it generated a signal in real time, but price kept on moving, you know, moving upward, you know, but we are left with that signal because this is price pulling back, right? Back to that fourth bar. So some of these reversal bars, yeah, are going to have signals, and that's correct, right? Because in real time, you know, so if you were trading this, you know, how are you going to know in real time whether price is going to reverse here or if it's going to keep moving upward? You know, you don't know that, you know, in real time. All right. And sometimes these reversal bars aren't going to have a signal because, as the rules say, we're taking the low of the bar and it needs to break the low price, right? So this reversal bar did not get down to the low of that bar there. Yeah, so there we go, right? So enter the low of 4 bars back. So there we go. Yeah. All right. So I think we have it. And let's go to, yeah, let's take a look at where the market's at in real time here and see if we actually get some signals. And look at that. Looks like we might. And bingo. There we go. Oh. Boy, it's hard to track this in real time. There. Now, so what we just saw here is actually price had moved so fast, and it could have been that price actually had gapped up on us. Price might have gapped up, and so it moved so fast, or if it gaps up, yeah, it moves so fast that BloodHound wasn't able to generate a signal because price had gapped up there. Yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind, that just because, you know, you see a bar like this, let's see, what's a good way to explain this? Yeah, I guess the best way to explain this is that what you see in these hybrid-renko bars is not truly where price had traded, right? So, yeah, so on this reversal bar here, yeah, you got to keep in mind that, you know, even though you see this reversal bar printed on that price there, let's see if I can use something a little better. Come on. There. Yeah, so even though you see, right, this bar had closed right there, it doesn't mean that price had traded right there. Remember, these hybrid-renko bars lie to you all the time, right? They're filling in price gaps. So if price does gap like this, then you will signals will skip on you, because this bar had printed and there actually was no price at this point to trigger that signal there. You know, so just keep in mind that when you're working with these hybrid-renko bars, that, you know, what you see historically is not what will actually happen in real time. Oh, there we go. Shoot, we missed one. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got another one. Nice. In real time there. All right. So let me stop here and take a look at the Q&A window and see if we have any follow-up questions on this. Oh, thanks, Heinz. Right. Okay, yeah, Heinz was letting me know that the name of, let's pull this back here. Yeah, that the name of RJ's company is Innovative Trading Solutions. Yeah, by RJ. Yeah, so that's actually who made these bars here on this chart. So, all right. Thanks there, Heinz. And let's see here. Randall has a couple of notes here for me. Okay. Yep. So, so Randall, your little note there. Yeah. So Randall's just kind of reiterating that condition number 5 here. That the system, is to basically, keep generating signals until the Renko bars reverse direction, and then they get reset, and we have to do this bar counting again before we get the first signal. Right, so that'll eliminate signals on when price is just kind of consolidating around here. So we can see, we have a couple of areas on this chart where price is just consolidating and reversing on itself, flip-flopping around here. So yeah, and so again, what the key here to that part of the system rules is the bar direction here, making sure that we have 6 bars in a row, like so. Let's see. Adam's got a comment here. He says the problem is you don't know when it becomes a wick or when it's becomes a reversal. Right. Correct. Yeah. As we can see, yep. We can't. There's no way to predict whether a bar is going to reverse or whether it's going to become a wick when we get those signals. Yeah. So right. Let me go back here. Yeah, see, where was that? Here we go. Actually, here's another good example here. Right, so let's measure the length of this reversal. here. And if we overlay that on here, yeah, we can see that price, all it needed to do was the market just needed to move one more tick, and then it would have, it would have become a reversal bar. Yeah, so if anybody has the ability to predict the future and know when these reversal bars are going to occur, please get a hold of me. We can make $1 million together. So, yep, that's the magic of the markets. Okay, so that was Adam's comment there. Let's see. Dean is making the comment here that this is something very close to what he's working on. All right. Well, good, Dean. So, yeah, maybe you can get a copy of this and, kind of tweak it as you see fit. Let's see. Oh, yeah. One last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see, just to make sure, to see if there might have been any possible signals when the ADX VMA was flat, right? Just to make sure this, so we can confirm that the ADX VMA is blocking signals. You know, I know it is, but just so that we have solid proof of that, let's see if we can find an example. We almost had an example there, but the ADX just happened to turn up. Let's see, this one here. No, that wick did not pull back far enough, but also it happened too early. Oh, yeah, here we go. So basically this consolidation period, right? So we kind of know that pretty much a lot of these reversal bars are going to generate a signal. So if we look at these, right, we definitely have enough down bars in a row, but because, you know, price has started to consolidate here, we can see that the ADX VMA is pretty much in a flat state for long periods of time. So we can see that a lot of these reversal bars never generated a signal because of the ADX being in a flat state, because these Renko bars are reversing direction a lot, right? Kind of creating this consolidation area here. Yeah, so all of these reversal bars, there's no signal on them because of the ADX VMA. So there we go. So there's our proof that the ADX VMA filter is doing its job there. Yeah. So yeah, and again, if we want to prove that fact, we can take our threshold solver, connect it in, and we can see when the ADX VMA is allowing signals to go through. And Randall's just making the comment, yeah, setting a longer ADX VMA period, yeah, could cut out, yeah, some more of the reversal chop. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, I do have my ADX VMA set at the maximum setting of 5 that Randall had suggested in his email. So